Ministry of Housing Permanent Secretary Charles Hinga has expressed optimism that the Mortgage Refinance Company will enable more Kenyans to own houses. Hinga, who spoke to Metropole TV, says that the model of financing is the biggest setback to home ownership, causing many Kenyans to live in informal settlements. According to Hinga, most banks offer the very high mortgage rates with short tenures, in turn locking out many Kenyans who wish to buy houses. Against this, the Mortgage Refinance Company will enable banks to borrow at the rates of 5% interest and in return lend the borrowers at much lower rates with up to 20 years tenure of payment.
We have one of the worst ratio of mortgages to GDP in the world. So what have we done to tackle that? One, we have established what we call a mortgage refinance company. Part of the reason why mortgages are far in between in Kenya is because of the way we finance them. Financing is a factor of the cost of money and the tenure at which banks are supposed to lend to the end users. So you find that the lending interest rates have been at the highest level, 13-14%, and the tenure has been short, which has been, on average, has been about 7 years. So when you take 14% at 7 years, and even if you take a 3 million house, you find that the repayments are almost 50,000. Now, 50,000, you have taken out more than 70% of Kenyans who can either own or rent a unit, and that's how a lot of people then end up living in the informal settlements. So we've addressed that by creating a mortgage refinance company, which is fully funded. We have funded it by about 40 billion shillings for starters, and then after the 40 billion is exhausted, we are going to go to the capital markets and raise more money because there's a lot of money that is available in the capital markets.
How has the performance been? How has the uptake been so far, or the reaction towards the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company, sir?
The biggest achievement now is that we have seen commitments. As we speak right now, in writing from about 8 participating banks, and I have not even touched SACCOs. I have offers for mortgages for up to 338 billion shillings to Kenyans. So any Kenyan that want a mortgage now can walk into any one of those participating banks, and they will be able to get a mortgage for less than 10% and for less than 8% and single digit.
Can you talk to us about the housing fund? How is it going so far, and what sort of contribution have you seen so far from Kenyans towards the fund?
Currently, the housing fund is voluntary. We have less than 1 billion shillings in there. But the interesting bit is that we have got, on Bomayang, we have got over 320,000 Kenyans who are registered. We have about 30,000 of them who are contributing something, whether it is 1,000 or 200 shillings per month or per day. We do have that. And we believe that as soon as all these supplies start coming together, we will see an uptake on the voluntary side.
What is fueling your optimism that, well, despite the coronavirus pandemic and despite the way the economy has been hit, that it's possible to get these 500,000 units, sir?
Now, the question though that you ask is why we are bullish about the real estate and still why we think that we will still be able to meet our targets. For 2 reasons. Number one, when you have got an economic meltdown, our sector, the real estate sector, tends to be one of the ones that get hit first. That is the first problem that you have, and so we get affected very, very, very fast. But once it is also one of the sectors that gets out of a recession very, very, very quickly. Why? Because if you want to create jobs, build houses, because houses are labor intensive, and they have got what we call a long supply chain. So, for example, you have supply of cement, doors, windows, and you have logistics. You have people working, there's secondary labor, people who cook for the laborers. So you find that it is a good part of the stimulus package, and that is why we are putting a lot of emphasis and supporting this particular sector, because it is not only going to help us to achieve our targets of building affordable housing for Kenyans, but it is also going to create the right and requisite type of jobs that we need.